Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matt here on NEODota. We've got a great episode for you tonight. Our guest tonight, of course, is the caster for the Good Studio as well as NEODota. Of course, Draskyl, how are you doing, sir?
Good. Happy to be here, even if it is 2 in the morning.
It's a bit late, but yeah. All the regular hosts are here as well. We've got AY2000 from Dignitas, Blitz, and of course, Bulba from Team Liquid.
It's called Dignitas Blitz?
No. I
Yeah,
said
okay.
Owie from Dignitas. Anyways, moving on. I don't know if anybody saw this, but on NEODota there was a very long thread, 16 pages currently, EternaLEnVy's recruitment post. He's got 3 players, including himself already. Sam, I wanted to get your opinion on, and I think you've talked about playing with Lust and points before, so do you think that team has legitimately a shot at being a professional team, especially if they get 2 more really good players?
Yeah, I mean, it can't really say they won't till you know, but I know, I mean, EternaLEnVy is kind of a person that's serious about wanting to be on a better team, and so is Clairvoyance. I don't know much about, like, Lust or what his plans are, but the problem right now is finding 2 other American players that are, like, good. And I don't know why Envy even made that thread. Like, when you're on, like, you should know all the good players. Like, you're not just gonna find some random guy. Like, I don't even know what the hell the point of that thread was. I mean, maybe it was just like he wants to let people know he's making a team or something, so people would ask him. But the whole thread is just like a whole huge troll fest, and no one like has the serious application that's actually accomplished or anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was really trying to accomplish there, but it brings up a good point in the fact that there needs to be more North American teams. If you think about really the teams in North America right now, it's just 3. It's you guys, it's Team Dignitas, and Team EG. So with this team being formed, do you think that there's potential for them to? I mean, EternaLEnVy is very serious, and he was very serious when he formed No Tidehunter. Will he have the same success that he had with No Tidehunter, or is it going to be a little bit different? I guess it's a little too early to ask that question, considering they don't have a full team yet, but I wanted to get your thoughts on whether or not you think that he could actually make the same kind of strides that he made with No Tidehunter.
I don't think be as successful as No Tidehunter as for winning a DreamHack. I don't know for now, but I think he knows himself that, I mean, there's no way that he's going to get to TI3 with the team, just a startup team like that. So, as for, I know Tidehunter actually had players that were, I mean, Ake and Loda were both, they've been playing Dota and whatever Holland for a long time. And S4 as a player, like, I didn't know much about him before, but talent-wise, he's probably the best player outside of Russia, or like outside of whatever in Europe. Like, he's one of the best players, I think. Arguably, he's up there with Kuroki and stuff, but yeah, so S4 is really good. Admiral Bulldog is like, I mean, I don't think you're going to find these kind of players in the US right now that are not on a team and that can commit like those guys did. So
It's a good point. I mean, it feels like the scene right now for the North American scene is just lacking, and it's primarily, I think, to the fact that it's just more popular in Russia. Will we eventually see more growth? Do you think in like the American scene, or is it just going to be stagnant like this for a long time? I feel like with a lot of the American teams, it seems like they make new teams, they've got the talent to be really good, and then they just sort of peter out because they either can't practice, it's not good enough, or whatever. So do you think there are going to be more North American teams? And this goes to all of you guys. I mean, all of you guys have been playing in North American teams, at least for the most part. What do you need to do as a North American player to really get, into the scene and to get into a team, really?
I think it's pretty difficult to find a team right now. Most of the organizations that are sponsoring North American teams are the only ones that exist, basically. So if you ever want to try to get anything like a sponsorship and have the possibility to play in a professional team, if you want to call it that, you have to have either enough money to support yourself to do that and commit the time to be a top-tier team, or you have to find a sponsor, and that's really difficult. It's not so much a matter of if people have the skill or not, as much as it is finding a way to support yourself and play at that level at the same time.
Absolutely. So, I don't know if you've got, yeah, and you mentioned that it's a troll fest, and on NEODota, it was also posted on Reddit. Got major upvotes, about 300 some odd upvotes earlier on this afternoon, and it was just ridiculous. A major troll fest. So, check that out over at NEODota.com. But good luck to EternaLEnVy. That's a rough position to be in, but I'm sure he'll make that work out. Also, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the Empire roster changes, especially you, Draskyl, because you cast D2L a lot, and of course, those are some changes. And how do you think, like, that seems a little bit shady that they would trade over Kurokai to Navi, but at the same time, and like I feel really bad for Mouse at the same time. How does that really affect the gameplay of all three of those teams? Have you seen a lot, better play from Navi? Have you seen Mouse be worse? I casted the Mouse versus Fnatic game, they picked up Zeus and things like that, but they didn't seem overly bad. It just, do you think it's going to be affecting the teams like a lot, or is it just going to be something that's negligible at best?
Well, anytime you change rosters, it's going to have a pretty big impact. Empire losing Funnick is a gigantic loss, no matter how you spin it. Funnick is one of the best 1v1 players that you're going to find in Europe or anywhere for that matter. Moving him to Na'Vi, I think having a player who is motivated to play, in light of heaven, there was rumors that he wanted to travel and stuff like that, so motivation is a big thing. And you get stuff like Funnick to take his spot where you know he's going to be motivated. I don't think that's a step down at all, especially in the long run once you start practicing together. Kuro making the transition from Mouse to Na'Vi. From what I heard, there were actually amicable terms in him leaving Mouse because he was actually offered to stand in today, which obviously can't do in D2 because he plays for another pro team. But from what I heard, it was actually okay with the team in general that he left, and they're still friends and all that. In terms of skill, sure, Mouse is going to suffer a bit. They did actually win today over VP and D2L, so their performance as of right now seems doing okay, and they're still in contention for playoff spots, so it's not really too bad to say the least. And as far as Na'Vi goes, they're just going to be ridiculously strong no matter what because they have a proper sponsor. They know they're going to be able to put in the time. They're buying a boot camp house in the US. They're going to be able to send people out here and practice for months on end before the International 3. So I think Na'Vi is obviously going to be doing great. And as time goes on, I think people put too much emphasis on individual players leaving a team. It's always to be 5 people versus 5 people. It's not going to be just 1 or 2. Sure, players have bigger impacts than others, but it's all about the synergy, how well your team gets along, how much you practice. That would be the biggest influence.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that brings me to another point. AUI, how do you, when somebody changes a roster, how do you, plan differently to play against that team? Is it a different play style? Do you have to focus on different things because they're different players? Or is it the same game plan going into the game?
I don't really know that question. For my team, we just play to play our game. We don't really care what team we're playing against that much. We might practice a couple of pockets against each team, but roster changes don't really change the fact that you're just gonna try to play your best and play your game, and I don't know.
I know from just watching Mouse, though, it seems like Black, I think, is kind of the de facto leader now. I think Mouse is going to be fine. They played, despite getting 2-0'd in the Dota Hut tournament, they played really well, and they didn't really ever, it was rather competitive games against Fnatic EU. And like you said, they 2-0'd Virtus Pro, so I think Mouse will probably be fine. Navi's going to be good, like you said. Where does this leave Empire, though, Draskyl? Do you think that Empire will be okay? I haven't seen them play since the changes were made. I don't know if who they're using for stand-ins or if they already have another player. So
they have been using stand-ins, and Empire I think is going to suffer the most of any team. Losing a player like Fun. I just mentioned putting emphasis on one player is not really the best way to think of it, but Funnick is one of those people who makes a gigantic impact on that team. If you have somebody like Scandal and Funnick in the same lineup and you're running them in roles that have high impact, sure, you're going to suffer for that. If they can find somebody to replace him who's a relative skill level and has the range of your Funnick has, then they'll be fine. But the problem is finding that person. I think that of all the teams and all the switching that's gone on, Empire is probably going to come out the worst for them.
That's got to make you feel bad, though. It's just a team that's been really, really dominant in the scene for quite some time. And you use just one player, and then all of a sudden everything kind of shifts away from that. So Empire, I think, is probably, like you said, in the worst case scenario for that.
I actually disagree with that. I think Maus is a lot worse off. Because the thing is, Empire, they lost a player that... Funnick is a really, really good player. Maus lost their captain, and that's like a different level. And the way Maus played, Alex, a lot of the time he just did whatever the hell Kuroki told him to do, and that's just how I thought. like I felt that whole team just played 4-man or whatever, and then let Black farm. And then now without, it's going to be a lot more different. So I think Mao is a struggle a lot. They actually beat VP today, but I mean that was just like a one best of three. But in the long run, Kuroki, that team was scary just because of Kuroki. I think a lot. I mean, a really smart player, and he's been playing really, really well in like all the games. So, and I think Empire. I mean, they already found a really good replacement, Vigos. Vigos kind of has like the same, like kind of attributes as Funnick in different ways. Like Funnick is not as aggressive as Vigos, but Vigos is not as Vigos is hard for me to say, but Vigos didn't play the role that Funnick did before. So I'm wondering to see how that worked. But Empire, they still have their Goblak. He told him. I mean, he was like captain of that team. He did most of the picks, and I mean, he did all the picks and the bans, and he was like the guy that just let them win a lot of those games. I mean, he was their whole like concept of tri-laning aggressively and letting Funnick free farm. That was like unprecedented in Europe, and they won a lot of games just off doing that. And then recently they were kind of doing worse off because teams kind of realized like how to counter this kind of play. So I think Mao's in the end they're going to be worse off than Empire. It's hard to say right now, but yeah, Kuroki's like the best player on Mao's by far.
Don't you think that? I mean, I feel like I was saying, Black now I think is the de facto leader. Bata I think was drafting for that. I think Black is he's there the longest I think, and he's the carry. So he I think if he makes the decisions, maybe they play more his style of game, which is like the 4 protect one. They're going after surviving. Yeah, I think Kurgai was really good, but I don't know. I think Mouse can do okay, and I don't know if you guys saw if they used the same stand-in against Virtus Pro. They used Quacha, or however you say his name. I couldn't pronounce it for the life of me. I don't know what stand-in they used against Virtus Pro, but the stand-in they used against Fnatic was actually pretty good. So,
but it's different though. Like, you can't say that. The reason that Mao's beat us so well is because we play them in a best of 3 one day. We play them next day. We played another best of 3, and we play them. And they learned a lot about how we played. And after we play them, we realized like they were the ones who actually stopped our streak. And I spoke a lot to Kuroki after, and then the way he was saying was just like, it just seemed like he's one of those people that when he plays, he just learns some. It's like he directed that team and he told them to do everything, and a lot of the reason that their success early on in January or whatever was mainly because of him, I think. So I understand Black and all that. I mean, his team obviously has to give him space, but I think Kuroki was the biggest asset to Mouse, and the sponsor or whatever, the Mouse sports team probably realized that, so they probably got a lot of money off selling him.
Well, that leads me to a question. How important is it to have a really good captain? I mean, you think about Puppy, I mean, you think about obviously Fluff and of course Kuroki, but like how important is it in the Dota community to have an excellent captain? Can anybody fill those shoes, or is it something that you really, really, really need to find? It's like, it seems to me...
I think captain is really important. I think is the most important role on the team by far, because every successful team has a captain that stands out, except IG will stand out. But you have these teams that, like LGD China, you have Zhao Wei, and then you had Fluff with Cole, and it's these teams that captain makes the team. And Na'Vi, without Puppy, there was no way. They won TI1 because of Puppy, they won TI2 because of Puppy. And obviously because of Ender's skill, but mostly because of Puppy and his strategies and stuff. Because you saw how they played. The reason that they did so well on TI2 was because they learned how to play versus the teams as the tournament progressed. Like, they played more and more versus the Chinese teams. And then finally it got to the end, and then they just, like, Puppy figured out these strategies to beat this one style that the Chinese teams were doing, and it was all because of him. I mean, it was obviously because all the players helped, but the captain is by far the most important.
Yeah,
and people are going to say, Puppy wasn't captain TI1. No, he was the captain, I'm pretty sure. I don't think Archstar was telling them all what to do from playing Flame Farming Hero. So.
And like if you watch like some of the VODs or the videos from TI2, you notice like they're so confident when they draft, and Navi is when they draft. The entire drafting scene, they're just happy. They're just like, they play their own style play, which is really impressive. And like, I don't know, it feels like I guess it is such a huge loss for Kurokai to leave, and it's just so weird that they would make that trade in the first place, because I think Mouse Sports was doing okay before that, but I don't know. It just
Well, the
seems
thing
like
about
everything turned on its head.
I met Kuroki at TI2 obviously, and one thing that stood out from him is he doesn't want to spend playing something that he knows he's not going to get success for, and that's he wrote like a huge blog a while back where he's just like, I just feel that the only team I can never be suited for is Navi with Puppy. So once he got this opportunity, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's been trying to get the opportunity for a long time. I mean, I even spoke to Black, and he's, regardless of how much, regardless of when it was going to happen, he felt that Kroki was going to leave as soon as he got the chance to Navi or a better team. Because he's not a player that's going to be wasting his time knowing that. Because inside he knows that there's a way that the mouse team would have been close to what Navi could do with potential wise.
So he just kind of, it seems like, but I, that's upsetting because I think that that's not necessarily true. If you practice with your team, if you take it seriously, I think Mouse Sports has the potential to
No,
be
dude,
good.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think you can practice as much as you need, but you need game changers and you need people that can do well in the LAN. And these players have been playing so well, and he spent so much time playing Dota. He realized that he needed to do something if he wanted to go to the top, and it was definitely the. I mean, people can say whatever the hell they want, but it was the right choice for him if he wanted to do that and if he got the opportunity.
Well, more props to him. Now he's playing for Navi, and that team is going to be scary to play against, I think. I mean, just from a casting perspective, they're already scared to begin with, and now that they've got those two players, it's certainly going to be interesting. But that they communicated in Russian, so now are they going to do all English? I don't know if anybody has heard anything about that because it's. I mean, Kirky's German, so how is that going to work?
They all speak decent English. Xbox speaks good English. Not good, but I mean, they all speak. I think Funnick is the one that speaks the worst English of all of them. But, yeah.
That leads me back to my last point and how there needs to be, I think, new teams because like if you're just focusing on, the people that are game changers now in the scene, well, how are there ever going to be good like new good teams? And so that like like we need new teams. We need new North American teams. It's so frustrating to be a caster just like, oh yeah, there's only 3 North American teams that I can really root for. It's just like every time I'm just like, somebody make a new team. Blitz, why haven't you made a new team? Why aren't you on a team right now?
Because I'm going to law school and
Oh, well, all right.
I
That's a
have
fair excuse.
I have some priorities. I don't know. I actually weighed the options for a second, whether it'd be worth it to try to pursue a career in competitive Dota. And I wanted to see if I could do it with North American players, and it just didn't work. Well, like we had a team like pre-international too, but what would end up happening, and not like to blame anybody, but like somebody wouldn't show up on time. We'd start scrims like an hour or two late. Like we were pretty good too, but like everything was just so unprofessional and unorganized that it just wasn't worth it for me in the long run. And I realized that not a lot of people are going to take it too seriously. So there was no reason to delay school any longer because, well, there's absolutely nobody really in the North American scene aside from the people that are already on teams that take it like half seriously, and for good reason as well. There's not a lot of motivation, right, for a North American player. They have to play on lag. They have to wake up at ungodly hours, meaning that if they have any sort of job or school, they have to forego that, and that just isn't worth it anymore. Like I went to school in college, and so I have a little more options, but for a lot of people, like the younger ones that have to make the decision as to whether you go to class or whether you play Dota, I would definitely prioritize something like school first. So I can definitely see why there's like a dearth of North American teams. Like for European teams, it's easier, right? Because you can play at night and you have that option. But for Americans, it's like we start at like 10 a.m. if you're on West, stuff like that. It's like I
Would
think
you
all of our scrims started at like 9 a.m. or something.
would you ever consider maybe making a pro team after you're done? I mean, obviously, like you have more free time when you're done with school, but maybe you get a job, or would you think about pursuing Dota as a professional career?
I mean, you don't really pursue Dota as a professional career. It's more like a passion thing, right? Like you do it because you enjoy it. Like I don't think anybody really goes into thinking that because like the only financially viable way of playing Dota right now is if you win the international, right? Because anything less is like you hear about sponsors like the big sponsors, and you get paid like $600 a month. Like for somebody that left school, that's like a barely livable wage. That won't even cover your rent, right? Most players don't stream, so they have to pretty much live with their parents. So, like, I guess once you're done with school, I would get a job. If you're doing it as a career, like that's that's the only thing. Like if you're pursuing it purely as a career, it's not the best idea. But if you're just it's like pretty fun to do just to do it, which is pretty much why I continue it.
Well, I mean, money-wise, I don't think playing Dota right now is that bad. If you can become like a decent streamer, you coach, you do other advertisement stuff, but it's just the future options. Like there are none. What are you gonna put on your resume for a job when you're like 25, which is pretty much when an esports career is completely over? Like there's nothing. You can say like you can try to spin it as, oh, I competed in an international thing, competitive level, represent international organization, traveled over the world or whatever, but it doesn't mean anything. There are not really that many tangible skills. Maybe not right now. I mean, I know in South Korea they hire ex-StarCraft 1 pro gamers as day traders for stock markets because they're relevant skills, but those skills that you would learn in gaming aren't really recognized in today's job world.
That's true. And like that also you brought up a good point about coaching. Like I don't see a lot of people coaching anymore. That I think something that existed, especially exists in StarCraft, because it's a little bit more one-on-one. How do you actually coach a Dota 2? Like do you just go over the mechanic stuff? Like
I mean, I think there are like a billion things to point out in coaching a Dota 2. All right. I mean, Dota 2 is such a like you always have something to improve on in Dota 2, and having someone coach you can just point out these things and specify how they can improve on them. I think it's pretty easy to coach Dota 2. I think it's actually easier than coaching StarCraft. Because StarCraft, unless you could like coach for a living and try to like talk about useless things, mostly it was just, hey, if your mechanics are not at this level, then there's no point in you getting coached. I mean, Dota's a bit of the same thing with you need to have a certain amount of knowledge, but StarCraft, like honestly, you could get to GM just mechanics. You didn't really need strategy or anything. So you got one strategy, each ladder matchup is really easy.
I would actually disagree in terms of coaching StarCraft versus Dota. I think that Dota is harder to coach because there are so many more variables, and teaching proper decision-making inside of a game can be much more difficult in a 5-on-5 scenario than a 1v1 because there are a finite number of possibilities that you're going to run into when you're playing StarCraft, and you, on a more consistent basis, you're going to have the information that you need if you're actively scouting and things like that. Whereas in Dota, there are opportunities to get vision very seldom, and your support player is going to be relied on solely for that. So if you're somebody else that's not a support, and you're trying to make decisions based on not having the same vision, then your options are going to change depending on game to game. So I think for Dota, coaching at a basic level would be easy, but coaching at a high level would be very, very difficult.
I mean, you mentioned there are tons of variables in Dota, right? And
Yeah.
say like half of those could be covered in coaching, but like that makes a lot more things that you can talk about in Dota than StarCraft. I think that's just how I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
I never
know.
played StarCraft at a high level, but the way I see it is just the sheer number of possibilities in Dota seem to could possibly happen in StarCraft. So in that sense, I guess if you want to teach basics and teach somebody how to make proper decisions, then it could translate to more in Dota than I guess in StarCraft. But I still feel like there's a lot more that could happen in Dota.
We're like tiptoeing around the subject of which game not only is necessarily more difficult to teach, but which game is more difficult to play. And that's actually a question I've been wondering for a long time. I didn't play StarCraft at a competitive level, but I played my fair share of StarCraft one-on-one. And yeah, it was difficult, but at the same time, it's two completely different game styles, and it might be unfair to compare this, but do you guys feel like, and Garrett, I want to get your opinion on this. Do you feel like it's a little bit more difficult because of the variables that you have to deal with in comparison to StarCraft? Or is it more difficult in StarCraft because you have to deal with like micro, you have to deal with active scouting and just timing and get everything your macro down and stuff like that? So this is a fair question, but which game do you think is more difficult from one-on-one or a player perspective?
Can I take that first? Was that addressed to me? I
Yes.
sort of liked it, but I can see it. I don't think anyone would make the assertion that StarCraft is easier mechanically than Dota. I think StarCraft is a lot harder mechanically, but I don't think that makes StarCraft a harder game. And I don't think that they're really comparable because a team game versus an individual game is just so different. and it's apples and oranges really. But mechanically, I would definitely say StarCraft still. But there's just our element in the form of like teamwork and different types of map position in Dota that's not even there in StarCraft. So you have an entire added level, layer of complexity there as well.
I pretty much agree, just fully. I don't think you can compare the two games in terms of difficulty. I mean, just in terms of mechanics, like he said, StarCraft for sure.
Like, I don't know if I should really say this, but even League of Legends, as long as people aren't all playing perfectly, the game's perfectly competitive and hard to play because people aren't all playing perfectly, and there's going to be disparity between the worst and the best teams, or of the top teams. Like, I don't know, people harp on different games for being easier, or like people from StarCraft will say Dota is really, really easy to play, but it's the same thing between Dota and League of Legends, right? Like, both of them are completely fine as competitive games, I feel.
Similar. I mean, I feel like I knock on League of Legends a lot, but if I had to try to play that game, I'd probably be awful at it because it has its own meta game. It's got its own different heroes, its own different mechanics. So it's just something that it's different. It's like you said, apples and oranges. League and Dota are closer together, but like Dota and StarCraft are not so much. So, I want to go back to talking about just growing the scene right now, and I was thinking like. I lost my train of thought, but just the scene to get bigger, and I think I wanted to get your opinion, Draskyl. In Europe, it seems like is a bigger deal. Do you sense that as well, or is it just something that because it seems like everything is played around the European schedule. There's no North American teams. Do you think that it's actually like a big deal? Like, because there are pub stomps or bars that like showcase Dota and stuff like that. I've been seeing Reddit posts. So, do you think it's a big deal over in Europe? Do you think that it's got the potential to be like really big, like it is like with Korean StarCraft in Europe?
I think in Europe, Dota is obviously much bigger than it is in North America. There's no real surprise there. But that's also because of the fact that no organizations in the US, as far as I know, have really supported it besides EG, and that's just D2L. There were no LAN finals for the first season of D2L. There were supposed to be originally, but if the organizations don't support it directly and give people events to go to and hype it themselves, and the scene's going to remain pretty stagnant. In that sense, Europe has a big advantage because they have things like Starter and other tournaments that they're hosting, and especially the tournament that we're going to be hosting too. So there's more to do in Europe. So obviously the game is going to be a little bit bigger. So I think that the North American organization that try a game to get bigger for them have to put some money into it first. And like everybody says, you have to spend money to make money. But sure, I do believe that the European scene is bigger.
Do you think that eventually the North American scene could grow? I mean, as big as because that's the big thing I think in his mind right now is this game going to be as big as LoL?
I think to say that this game would be as big as LoL, even as somebody who loves Dota 2 as much as I do, I think that it probably won't happen. And if it does happen, it's going to be in a really, really long time, like maybe a couple of years, because it took League of Legends a while to really sprout the monster that it is today. And really, the reason why the game is so popular in general, and the reason why they have a competitive scene, is because it's incredibly accessible. So whenever you have a game like League of Legends that has very simple mechanics, everybody can sit down and learn it and have fun, it's not like playing a Dota game where you go into a Dota game and you get berated by people. Sure, League of Legends people will do that too, but it doesn't really feel as serious a game as Dota, and it's much less forgiving than League of Legends is. So as far as that goes, I think League of Legends will remain bigger. But even the people who are on pro teams in League of Legends admit that the game has built-in caps to how much you can actually accomplish in competitive scenes. So I think that that gives us a bit of an advantage, and our game is just as fun to watch, if not more fun. But since League has a bigger player base, they also have exponentially more viewership and things like that. So.
Just like it makes me so disappointed from like it's just every single time someone's like, yeah, I mean, League has like this point where you can cap out and like at skill, and it's much more interesting for Dota. I'm just like, well, then why? Why can't? It's like I want it so bad. I enjoy this so much, but then again, who doesn't? I mean, that's why we're here. So now I want to talk about some recent results that happened, and I'm going to be a little bit greedy here and talk about my results for the tournament that I casted, which was the Dota Invitational. There were actually 3 games that were going on while that was happening. There was actually 4. Navi versus EG game, the series for the We Play Dota, the show match. There was Liquid versus DD. That was for, I don't remember what that was for, but I know that was going on. And then Dignitas was playing in the Premier League as well. But I think a lot of people put down on a pretty good series for the Dota Invitational. That finished up. Winner was Fnatic EU, unsurprisingly. And Fnatic is just such a strong team. And actually, Sam, you actually ended. They were on a streak, and Team Liquid ended that streak. So, was there anything that kind of took away from Fnatic's style of play, or was it just sort of like you guys playing your game? Because I know AUI you talk about as well, just your own style of game. Is it the same for Liquid?
No, the reason that Fnatic lost versus us was because we had 2 games on US East and 1 game on Europe. That's why they lost to us. That's all I have.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that big of a deal? Ping issue?
Yeah, man. Like, you got one guy with the 160 ping, and you got one guy with the 110 ping, and then you're like 40 ping difference, and then it's like 40 whatever the hell milliseconds, and then he couldn't auto attack the. Well, you know, like there's this top fight, you know, and then the Darkseer has a haste rune, and he's like a double damage, and then he's like, I'm gonna ion shell myself, and I'm gonna go next to this gyro, and I'm gonna attack him, and then he's. And then he messed up, and then he's like, we could have won this game if it was Europe, because I would have killed the gyro there. And then the second game, it was on Europe, and we lost because it was on Europe. And then the third game, we won because it was on USCs. So that's basically what happened. Fnatic U doesn't lose to Europe. Fnatic U, the reason they lose to teams in the US is because it's on US East. That's basically why they lose.
So you're telling me that you think that servers are a big deal and big issues when it comes to playing in online tournaments?
I think Fnatic U, the reason that they lose to us is because of US East.
But is it the same for other teams?
The reason that Fnatic U the reason that Fnatic U beat Dignitas was because 2 of the games were on Europe. So that was basically it.
That seems shocking to me. I guess I wouldn't have any idea about that, but like the fact that servers are that big of a deal.
No, dude, when you're playing on the opposite server, you play like a complete freaking retard. That's basically it.
I don't believe that, but that's fine.
No, dude, I'm being honest, dude. You heard Hani on his cast of our game versus Maut. Like, the only reason that Team Liquid wins games is because we make European teams play on US East. The only reason that Dignitas ever won games is because they make European teams play on US East. It's basically, AOI can confirm this with me. AOI, is that not the reason we win? I mean, look at us. Right. We go to the LAN. Do you see Dignitas get completely shit on by Fnatic? Like, the only team that can surpass this boundary of US East and Europe is EG. Because they got second in DreamHack. No,
it's different, obviously, but it's not that ridiculous. Okay, I mean, like, ping difference is not that big of a deal. I'm being trolled, guys.
No, dude,
thanks for that. Thanks, Sam.
Dota thread, dude. I saw it on a joined Dota thread.
Oh, of course. Then it's definitely true. Then for sure. Okay. Great. Anyways,
thank you for that. I just want to say thank you.
Shut up, Draskyl, you freaking European traitor.
I thoroughly enjoyed that segment. I would listen to it again.
Well, now I look like an ass, but that's fine. Moving forward, other results. I'm looking at my Liquipedia here. I know you guys in the defense. You guys took care of EG. That was a best of 3, correct?
Huh?
EG.
I forgot. I didn't. We played
defense
EG.
Games. Defense games.
I think it was the best of. That first game wasn't even a game. I was like, IXDL. My IXDL games were harder than that.
Oh man. So you guys are still alive in the defense. Then you're gonna go up against Fnatic EU, who apparently. Never mind. And then Team Dignitas, you guys are up against Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro is surprisingly good, actually. I am surprised at how well they've been doing. They sort of came back after they reformed, and it's pretty impressive in my opinion. So, and then Draskyl, well, it just seems like it's going on forever. When does that end? Like, is there a playoff soon? I just feel like it's been going
I think
on.
there's like one more week of group stages, if I'm not mistaken, like this week and next week, and then it's pretty much straight into playoffs. It ends on the
Okay.
20th. That's pretty much the date. I'm pretty sure that it's end.
And then the top four right now for D2L is Fnatic U, Empire, no title in Mouse Sports. So, yeah, there's still a little bit to go there. The defense, though, I think is what everyone's going to be watching. Premier League, I mentioned how, let's see, you guys are leading in that 3-0. And then, so, a lot of good tournaments going on right now. What I'm actually kind of disappointed about is Dota Hut Invitational. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing another one, but there were some really good games for Dota Hut. The problem was they just didn't market it, and it's frustrating because I think that a lot of the games were great, and I don't think there was no ticket and there's no spectating enabled. So from I think a viewer standpoint, I would go in and everybody would be like, "Where can we watch in game?" And it just didn't happen. So. For those of you who don't know, Dota Hut is owned by Team Solomid, which is a League of Legends company. And I think that if they wanted to, they could certainly put a lot more hype into it. And I think that they should have because there was a lot of great games for that. But enough of my rant. I want to move on from just rather recent results. We talked about a lot about Jared last week because he's sort of the flavor of the month. And he's been actually being used a lot of supports. Sam, would you rather use Gyroraptor as a support, or would you rather use him as a carry right now? Because I know Korok plays Murat as carry. So, what do you feel more confident with, especially since people are trying him out as a support?
It's whatever you need. He can fit both roles, but I feel he's better as a carry. I don't understand the whole gyro support shit. I understand in some context that he does a lot of damage as a support. He's actually first aggressive Trillions because of how imbalanced Rocket Barrage is. But I still prefer him as a carry. So there's not much to say. I mean, I think it was if you use it, it's really imbalanced. But I mean, not. I don't want to say imbalanced. I think he's really strong at his role. But he's obviously countered. He's not like some hero that is gonna auto win you the game. But if you play it right, it's hard. It's a good hero, basically.
Right.
So.
And from a cast perspective, Draskyl, I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but literally like every game, it's been Gyroraptor's been picked first or second time. Is there going to change? Do they need to nerf him? What's the deal with that?
I don't think he needs a nerf. I think what makes him pretty strong is Sam thinks that it's pretty much only a carry hero, but in the D2L especially, people have been picking him as an ambiguous pick. It's just you can pick him in the first three, and he can do whatever he wants. He can support, he can go mid, he can carry. More often than not, you're going to see a mid or you're going to see a carry nowadays, but there was a point in time where all three were a possibility. So I think that's one of the strengths that he has. Obviously, his skill set's strong. Flat Cannon's ridiculous for harass. His ultimate's great, and it partners good things like Darkseer, who is still making it through the first 4 bans nowadays, especially in the North American and European scene. Some teams will still ban it, but for the most part, you see things like Bat, Wisp, Nyx, Band, and Keeper over everything else, so that hero still manages through. And those AoE combos seem to be really kind of flavor of the month along with Gyro, and he synergizes well in those lineups, especially with teams starting to pick things like Warlock, where you can get Fatal Bonds and you get Katic Offering, and it's even harder to deal with. So I think people favor him as a carry more than anything else, like Sam said, but there is also a possibility that you can switch it up if you need to.
And that's a good point about Warlock. Do you think that maybe he's the next trend in the Dota scene right now with just how well Dignitas has been playing with him and things like that?
No, I don't think so. I think the hero is strong, but
He's got the highest
think-
win rate in matchmaking.
I don't
Doesn't
think.
it?
I mean, obviously, yeah, it's strong. Rock is strong, but I mean, in competitive play, it's a hero that after his Rock is down, it's not as useful as it's up. So you can play around it, like you bait the Rock, you can do these kind of. Obviously, he has this kind of thing, and there's better heroes than him. But in certain lineups, it's good. And I know Dignitas they started up, but I don't think. I can answer. I mean, it's not like they have Warlock, they auto win the game and shit. I mean, it's a hard hero to have a lineup with, and well, because he has his weaknesses. And I don't. I mean, recently, didn't you guys lose with Warlock? I think like 2 games or something. I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know. It started Warlock is a hero where if they have to 5-man, you're gonna win the game though. That's sort of the hero. But if they can split push, and he's strong, right?
Yeah, and then now look what heroes are popular. Shit like Furion, Storm, Nakes. What is Warlock gonna do? Like,
Draskyl knows what Warlock's gonna do.
Warlock versus melee heroes really fast. By the way, I forget, how many games did you guys win in that series?
Defective Chia Pet. We would have won if my team didn't suck so hard.
no, that
That's
was you,
what it
dude.
was.
Ouch.
That was you.
Ouch. Blame the team. That's another good point too. Furion and Nate have been played a lot, just like TPing around all play. Like, do you see any other besides that? Do you see any other like interesting trends that are happening? I mean, besides Powercopter, Warlock being used occasionally, like you guys said, like and you're like just picking your games and stuff like that. But what other like trends have you seen besides those that I already mentioned? Like anything in specific?
What is it?
I mean, because like it's so the Dota metagame I think is so fickle right now, which is really good, but at the same time, it's just I'm just interested.
Farming Visages. What the hell is that, EUI?
I'm playing him as a support. I just take the support role.
Empire, right?
No, it was support.
It's usually played
How
with
did you
heroes.
have 600 gold per minute as a farming Visage? What the hell?
Because I killed shit.
Was it really as a support?
Yeah, I play Visage support. I just get stuff because I use the birds to farm a lane.
Oh, okay. You were pretty fine for a support. Thought you guys were like using it as farming Visage. So what the hell?
Can I ask you a question, Kurt?
Yeah.
So somebody that I'm not gonna that lives around here is absolutely convinced of Huskar as a viable carry. Like, absolutely certain. And the way that he wants to build it is he wants to do flaming spears and stats. Thoughts? Is that viable at all?
My fucking mind's blown up.
Like,
No.
I'll just go ahead and say it. It's Purge. But I'm going to take that back to him now. Thank you.
All I can say is if I ever
There's-
see Huskar in a tournament, I'll be so happy. I'll fucking die. 'Cause I want to
There's
see the
like
hero.
a couple of strategies you can use Huskar right now, but I don't know. We have matches versus VP and stuff. Like that's the thing with talk about strategy in a show like this for Dota. Like if you have like for example, I know going to StarCraft, like if you're on a StarCraft talk show, it's very rare that you're gonna be like, have you seen it in a build order? Spend Dota talk show. Like we can't really say, oh, we strat for this hero. Here's exactly what we're gonna be doing, because until it's already been used in the tournament. So,
Okay, so wait. Let me
Super
get this.
secret strats.
I don't mean to cut you off, Kurt, but you're saying that he wants to do a build where he removes the only scaling ability from a hero who's supposed to carry and is passive and get burning spears instead.
I don't actually know if it's stats.
sounds really high level.
I mean,
that-
we pretty much beat a CM team with it. So I feel
And he's
pretty good
getting
about it.
stats on a hero who literally only uses mana for one ability?
That he's not getting.
I mean, he's
Right.
getting an armlet. You guys can shut up now and stop hitting on my boy.
I'm just trying to understand where
Wait,
this
is it
coming from.
who's the strat?
Wait, no, I think he does get his passive. I think he does get his passive.
Yes, Sam.
All right. Anyways,
yeah.
did you guys see? Sammy, you were teammates once with Select. Right? There's a news that the QPAD thing with Select
Yeah.
going over to Sweden. That was like a really
Oh,
short
yeah.
turnaround time, right? Because he was on Infinity and Beyond, and then he
How does that
immediately
happen?
just goes. Yeah, like that was actually just like a week turnaround time where they were having these tryouts for like a month. All of a sudden, like Select is just like there.
I actually I talked to Sing a little bit about it, and then basically it was like he actually asked me like, is there any North American players and stuff? So I told him straight up no, but I told him select a player that I played Dota 1 with him, and he had literally played for 7 months, and I already felt he was better than like 95% of the North American community, and that was basically off 7 months. And he gets good at games really fast. Like I remember I got him the StarCraft beta key in Wings of Liberty, and within like I used to play the game, but I didn't play it that much in beta. And then I remember I gave it to him, and then after a week, he was already on the top of the ladder in whatever it was back then. So he fiends a lot, meaning like he'll practice a lot, and he'll get better a lot. And I told Sing that partly, and I told Darkish. I don't know if you guys know him, but he was like Sing's friend. I told him that. So I think people had doubts about him, but I do know he's gonna get better as a player. So
How does that happen so quickly? And how was it such a problem that Merlini flamed him so hard that he said, "Screw this, I'm going to QPAD"? How does that happen? I didn't even see the
well,
VOD.
it's not even regardless of what team he was. I think he would have went to QPAD. So I don't know.
That's true.
That's like it's a way better opportunity than any American team, and I'm happy for him too. He won. He told me right after he quit StarCraft, like he really wants to get into a pro team, and he's like, "Do you know anywhere or anything?" And I told him Voins. I suggested Voins to him, and then Claire kind of knew him before. Voins kind of before from Dota 1, so he went on, and then I think he kind of met in them there, and then they gave him a chance. So we haven't skimmed QPAD or anything, so we don't know how they do. And I am kind of skeptical because it feels like waited too long to make the roster. I don't know about what they wanted to do that, but I felt if they maybe announced it, and I don't understand why they want to wait so long to like appear in a tournament. Also, because right now, for them to get a TI3 invite, they're gonna have to do really well in the next few months. And it's going to be hard for them because there's so many freaking good teams right now in the West, especially. Obviously, there's really good teams in the East, but the West, because there's just more teams and there's like a smaller amount of available invites, it's going to be hard.
Well, they're going to the DreamHack Invitational. So we'll see how they do there. Their group with you guys actually, and EG and Team Empire. So, and yeah, that's a good point. That's a rough group.
Yeah, that's actually a really awesome tournament. So I think like the prize pool distribution is actually one of the coolest things if you look, because basically if you at least one best of 3, you're guaranteed money, and that's awesome for the GD studio to make it. Because often you just like it makes it just more financially viable for teams, and it's a better model. So shout out to the GD studio for making that tournament and the prize pool like that.
Nice job, Draskyl. Nice job.
I did.
Yeah, it was all Draskyl, dude.
I contributed.
No, I gotta say that is pretty cool, and you guys had a really good trailer for that too, by the way. That was actually really sweet. So whoever made that trailer, props to them for the DreamHack one. But last thing to talk about G League finals. It seems like it's been forever. It started in like December, I think. It's finally ending. LGD International versus Invictus Game, Chinese powerhouses. Thoughts? Do you think IG is going to win? Do you think LGD is going to win? Why? And I'm excited. Like, this is going to be insane. It's like in a big stadium, right? And like, this is what I want in America. This is what I want in American Dota. People cheering on their teams in giant stadiums, like in the international, doing that on a consistent basis. So who do you guys think is going to win? Actually, I'm just going to go right down the list and have you guys do predictions, because why not? Draskyl, who do you think is going to take it between LGD and Invictus?
As much as I love Brax and all them, I got to give IG the advantage. For one reason, because LGD took a pretty sizable break from the game in general, whereas IG has been playing the whole time. Sure, I guess you could argue that taking a break gives you time to rethink your perspective on the game and come back and maybe be fresh, if you want to call it that. But IG has been in the top for a very, very long time, and they're very good at what they do. So I'd say IG probably have the advantage here.
All right, AY, what do you think? LGD or Invictus?
IG don't really watch Chinese Dota, so yeah. I just know IG is really good.
It's yep, Blitz.
So I talk to Brian pretty often, and he told me actually the other day that they didn't really have a lot of teams to like play, and it was like kind of hard to find people to scrim against and stuff. Like I think they were getting so desperate that they were doing like team matchmaking and stuff, which is kind of like, you know, that's where you go to die. But but the way that I rate it is, I also asked Fluff his opinion, and he gave LGD int like a 30% chance of winning, and I'd say mine is around there as well, maybe 30-40%. Because I think they're definitely a talented team, and you know, at LAN everyone kind of performs a little worse, but you know, IG has a lot of experience on their side. Like, I mean, they won international, so IG, but not as certain as people might think.
And Bulba?
Actually, what Draskyl IG was gone for like a month. They didn't play Dota at all because there was the Spring Festival in China, and
Well, Brax told me it was wrong then, because he told me that they were practicing the whole time. I talked to him like 2 days
no,
ago.
I don't
so
think because they all like all the Chinese teams had a break and stuff.
1437 said IG went to practice early too.
Really? I don't know. Because Chuan, like, LD told me Chuan, like, literally came back to China for, like, 3 days ago or something to play. And so did, and GD China just, like, came back yesterday. So regardless if IG was playing, I think they would have just played whatever, like, they would have just played TMM because there's, like, no other teams to play at all. But as for who I'm going to predict...
TMM, Sam? You realize that is TI3, right? Like, when you queue for those servers, they 3-man gank mid at level 1.
Dude, I was watching Brax play the other day, and then he was playing Invoker mid, and then the other team had, like, PL Kodal and something like that, and then he was just, like, getting roamed on mid, and he was just, like, flaming everyone in chat. He's like... I mean, he was flaming to me in Skype. But as for their predictions... I hope to see a Wisp from LGD at one of the games to see how the Wisp CK fares in China.
God, that's gonna be great.
And I think they have some strategies. Brax when we practice some stuff, but again, he said the only team right now that's actually practicing it was Orange and Zenith, and then I think there was like one Rising Stars team in China, and then VG. So it's hard. None of those teams are obviously on the level IG, so it's already it's like hard to play. I mean, get practice for a team like IG. So I'd say 40-60% and 60% for IG.
So you literally just took my number. All right.
Dude, it's more than yours. That's a 10%. That's like...
I said like 40%, you idiot. All right.
You said 30%, dude.
I said that's what Fluff said. I said I'd give them like 40. All right, semantics. Move on.
Yeah.
You didn't even say 40, dude.
If it matters, I'm an LGDN fanboy. I'm gonna give the victory to them just because I want them to win. So that's that. But I think that's gonna be it for it tonight. Good show so far. I want to thank Draskyl for coming. I had a lot of fun. And why don't you give any shout outs and talk about your Twitter if you'd like.
Shout out to you guys for having me on, even though it's now 3 o'clock in the morning, so damn you, Aaron. I know you can hear me, you bastard. But, of course, I wouldn't rather be anywhere else supporting North American Dota. I want to see the scene grow, too, to be honest, and not just in Europe and China. I'm not a traitor, as Sam says. I'm just here because
you
it's
ditched,
good.
Dude. You ditched. Okay.
I ditched the U.S., so you can post it on Reddit now. Now you have voice-recorded proof, but...
oh, yeah, wait, another...
What?
Wait, Draskyl, who invented UNAC?
Who invented? You mean who just couldn't think of anybody else to ask and then just randomly threw my name out there?
Dude, that was not, dude. It was because I did NEODota shit with you for T1. Like... Okay, fine. On,
you know
dude,
what? Sam is the sole reason why I'm here today. Now you can just sit there and be happy about it, right?
Yes. I am so happy.
There you go. You have it.
No, dude, I'm honest. I remember one time it was for the It's Goes to Monthly Madness, and then AC wanted me cast, but I was like way too tired to, and I'm like, let me think of a caster. So I thought of snaking first, and I'm like, nah, snaking doesn't fit. Then I was like, let me ask Demon. I was like, okay, Draskyl, you're third on the list. Let me give you up. I just didn't know your potential, Draskyl.
Well, hopefully I've exceeded your expectations, Sam. It's what I live to do every day of my life, is to make you impressed. But all the shout-outs I have are basically to the people who support Dota 2, people who support me and everyone else basically in the Skype call right now, even Aaron, because he's a jerk.
Especially Aaron.
Especially he stayed up.
Yeah, I mean, he's up at this point in the day anyway, so.
No, he stayed up for you, dude.
I do have a Twitter. You guys can follow me. It's just @Draskyl, so DRASKYLL, and I have a Twitch channel as well that I stream from time to time, and it's just twitch.tv/Draskyl with 2 L's. But it's on the NEODota network anyways, so you guys should be able to find it below the video, I think.
Yep. And moving on, AUI 2000. Any shoutouts / Twitter? Pumping.
Shout out to my team Dignitas, and our main sponsors Alienware, Antec, Into, and that other one that we just
SteelSeries.
King's X, and the other ones, and
QPAD, right?
yeah, you can follow me on. I don't think they're our main sponsor though. Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at a_2000. Also stream on Twitch, and yeah.
Hey, Blitz.
Hello.
Hi.
My Twitter is @Blitz_Dota. Don't actually type out underscore. Let's see. My Twitter /Blitz though. Thanks for laughing at my dad. Shout out to everyone that watched the stream and all that. Oh, and a plug. So, for people that don't know, me, Merlini, Purge Gamer Swag, Draskyl, we're gonna host a subscriber tournament, and that's tentatively Wednesday or sometime when Purge gets back from. He has a wedding, and it should be sometime in the next 2 weeks at the very minimum, and we'll be doing that for charity. We haven't quite figured out the details, but so if you want to subscribe to Draskyl or Merlini or Purge or me and play in that, do so. It'll be for charity, so. Plus, you'll get to see Draskyl lose again. That'll be 0-4.
Well, I think the important thing is when we actually played each other, I won. So that just
Alright,
goes
you
to
reverse
show
Samson looking motherfucker.
that even if my subscribers are worse than yours and don't have skill heroes, at least I still beat you, so that's fine.
There's this really neat site that somebody set up called blitzvsdraskyl.com, which like pretty much tells the story of how our fight goes, with me kicking the shit out of you and you coming back more.
Yeah, but be
It's like-
honest, Shades of Grey made you wet. Just you could
Pretty
just say
much.
it right now. It's fine.
Couldn't walk for like a week after that.